So you put your vehicle's interior panels back on, you turn on the vehicle for the first time and cue up your favorite song, and it just doesn't sound like you were expecting. Maybe the subwoofer bass is lacking, or maybe there is an annoying rattle or noise. Perhaps the clarity is just not up to par. What went wrong? In this video, I want to cover the 5 common things that impact car audio performance. That way you can address them during the build phase of your project so you don't make any mistakes. Let's get started. So reason number 1 you're not getting the performance you expected from your car audio system is that your electrical system is not up to par. It's important to understand for a car audio system that the power has to come from somewhere. And for most vehicles, that power comes from the alternator. Now, alternators have different ratings based on the size of their output. Generally speaking, for smaller vehicles, you're going to have a lot smaller output. And for larger vehicles, you're going to have a larger alternator with more output, but you have to remember that with that larger vehicle comes more accessories that are going to be used by that vehicle from the factory. Regardless, alternator size is something you definitely have to consider, and you need to take into account how much amplifier power you're planning on using. Now, along with alternator size, we also need to make sure that we size all of our car audio wiring properly. That includes the power wire and the ground wire. You need to make both of those the same size running from your distribution blocks or your amplifiers up to the battery. And that also includes our speaker wire. We need to make sure our speaker wire is sized properly for larger systems. So how do we do the calculations to make sure that our alternator is sized properly and that all of our wiring is sized properly? I have another video all about this. It goes into full detail here on the channel. So next up, reason number 2 that you're not getting the performance you expected from your system is that you don't have the ability to tune it. Anyone that is familiar with high-end performance vehicles knows that in order to get the best performance out of a vehicle, you need to be able to adjust parameters in order to tune that vehicle to optimal performance. The same is true for a car audio system, and the tuner for a car audio system is called a DSP, or a digital signal processor. A DSP allows us to control a ton of different things. One of those things is called time alignment. The speakers are different distances from us in the vehicle, and we want all those sounds to arrive at our listening position at the exact same time, and we can do this through time alignment. Another thing we need to adjust is the equalization of each speaker in a system. If we're sitting in something like a home theater and we have speakers placed perfectly at the same distance from our listening position, and there's nothing in their way, we generally don't have as many problems as what we do in car audio. In car audio, there's all sorts of different things in the way of the speakers. Your listening position is skewed over to one side of the vehicle. The speakers are positioned in less than optimal locations. So because of this, the speaker response ends up being all over the place, and we need to correct it back to the curve that we want to use. And to do this, we use equalization. A DSP also allows us to control the crossovers for each different channel of amplification. It allows us to control levels, tons of different functionality. You definitely want a DSP in this day and age if you want to get the best performance out of your system. Now check this out, because this is pretty cool. A DSP can come as a standalone device, or it can now come built into an amplifier. And that's the case here with the Audio Control D-5.1300. Audio Control is a sponsor of the channel, so I just wanted to take a quick second and tell you a little bit about this amp. Audio Control has a 4-channel and 6-channel DSP built-in amplifier in their lineup, and this is the latest addition to the lineup with the 5-channel. You can see the power ratings here, plenty of headroom on our speakers and plenty of subwoofer power right there with this 5-channel amplifier. You'd want to set this amplifier up where you're using the 4 channels for speakers and then the subwoofer output channel for a subwoofer, which would make this a perfect all-in-one system amplifier, especially because it has the DSP built in. With the USB port right here, we could connect to this with a computer, or we could connect with the optional AC-BT24 on the option port, which would allow us to use a mobile device. Once connected, we could control the time alignment, the equalization, the crossovers, the level controls, all those settings we talked about to perfect the sound of this. If you guys want to learn more about this, check out the link down in the video description. If you want to learn more about tuning DSP and some of the popular misconceptions, check out this video. Reason number 3 you're not getting the performance you expected is you didn't include sound treatment as part of your build process. If you've ever been in a recording studio, you've no doubt seen all the different sound treatments that they have on the walls and in different locations within the studio to make sure that they're optimizing their recording and perfecting that sound. We also want to try to create a perfect music reproduction environment within our vehicle by using sound treatment materials. We don't want things rattling all over the place. We don't want road noise coming in from outside the vehicle impacting our performance. Sound treatment is a must. As a quick side note, I think some people think that if you add a DSP to a system, you can correct everything so you don't have to worry about the sound treatment, but a DSP cannot fix rattles, it cannot block out road noise, and it can't necessarily fix cancellation. A lot of people are familiar with the butyl rubber and the foil, that two-component material that is used for sound treatment, but there are other materials that we often need to use throughout a build. If you want to see a full video that goes more into that process and how you can improve bass and your sound clarity by using sound treatment materials, definitely check out that related video. Reason number 4 you're not getting the performance you expected, and in this case we're going to focus primarily on subwoofers. That reason is you didn't account for the proper amount of space when planning your subwoofer system. I don't know why, but this seems to be the most common mistake affecting performance, so I'm here to try to correct it, to get everything straight for you guys. Understand that in a car audio system, bigger is not necessarily always better. I see examples of this all the time. It will be a small trunk vehicle that really only has space for maybe 2 10s ported, and somebody's trying to put 2 18s ported in that space. It's very, very important that you do some early measurements and some early approximations to determine exactly how much air volume you're going to have to work with. And that's not just sealed air volume, that's ported air volume, which means we have displacements for the subwoofer, for the port itself, for all the bracing and wooden materials in the box. I have videos about that here on the channel on how to make those approximations. One that I recently did that I definitely recommend you check out is based on making a subwoofer enclosure for a truck. And I understand not everyone has a truck, but that's a good application to analyze because oftentimes trucks do not have a whole lot of space, especially under the rear seat of a vehicle. So if you want to check that out, the annotation is up here. Reason number 5 you're not getting the performance you expected is that you have noise in the system. In other words, you don't have a good source for your system, or somewhere within the wiring or the components of the system, noise is being created. So first off, all great sound starts with a great source. What I mean by that is you want to consider what's actually playing your music. If you have the ability to use high quality lossless audio files, you want to do so to get the best performance. But unfortunately, in today's day and age, I see this all the time where people don't want to make sure they have a good source. They'll use something like YouTube just to look up the song, and you have to understand that all of that video and all of that music that's uploaded to sources like that is compressed heavily. With all this compression, you lose fidelity in the sound. If you are going to be streaming music with something like, let's say, Spotify, this is something I mention all the time, and a lot of times people are surprised, so let me know if this surprised you. But there are options to go into the settings on that app and you can change the audio quality. Now, of course, if you pick a higher quality, obviously you're going to be using more data, so take that into consideration for your data plan if you're using a mobile device. As far as noise goes that's induced into the system, you want to make sure that you're obviously using high quality amplifiers, a high quality source device like an aftermarket head unit if you can use it for your vehicle, but you also want to make sure that you're using high quality wiring, especially on the signal cables. So if you're using RCA signal cables between a head unit and amplifiers or a DSP and amplifiers, you want to make sure that those are high quality. Now notice I said high quality. You don't necessarily need to spend a ton of money to get a good set of RCA wires, but do your research and make sure that they are properly designed. Using quality gear and wiring will set you up for more success and less likelihood of noise, but it does happen still. If you do have noise issues, again, I have a related video that you guys could check out that can help you address those. Like most hobbies where you're building something, taking the time to properly plan can lead to better results. So be sure to account for everything that we talked about in this video as part of your planning process for your system. Don't forget that DSP is definitely something that you want to include in your system, and it makes it really simple. If you pick the Audio Control D series of amplifiers, have that DSP built into the amplifier. If you guys want to learn more about this, check out that link down in the video description. A special thanks to Audio Control for being a monthly channel sponsor, along with Anthony, Mike, Ali, Jerry, Marcos, William, and the rest of the Patreon membership team. A big thanks to all those guys for making these videos possible, and thank you for watching.